All right, how you guys doing today? We about to hop into the review of Proverbs chapter 26. I believe this is part 3, but the first things first, just want to make sure y'all like that video up. You already know what to do. If you don't, let me go ahead and tell you. Just make sure you hit the little exit full screen, scroll yourself just a little bit, like the video if you have not already, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? All right, so we left off verse 12 last time, so we have verse 13. A slothful man will say, there's a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. And if you couldn't tell, they are lying themselves. No? Okay. Basically, right, this is talking about somebody who's lazy. So when they're lying to you about why they didn't do something, their excuse is going to be, well, not nowadays, unless you lived in, I believe it was China during the pandemic, because I think they literally released lions in the streets. It was either like them or Russia or something, but they released lions in the streets to make people stay in their house. So, they was telling the truth. But back then, I guess, somebody who didn't want to do no work would just be like, hey, there's a lion in the streets, man. I can't go outside. I couldn't get you your money, man. I couldn't go to work, man. There's a lion out there. What you want me to do? I ain't no lion hunter. I ain't got no tranquilizer. I ain't got no shotgun to go put this lion down. Like, this is all I got. All I got is just me and a sword, and I think a lion has more range on it than a sword will. So I think I'm gonna keep my little happy self in my little house. Unless you want to go out there with a lion. And he's like, bro, I was outside all day yesterday and I didn't see a lion. See, you didn't experience what I experienced, so you can't tell me there's a lion. I live right down the street from you. I see your house on a daily basis. So you saw the lion. I ain't see a lion, brother, man. you know, it's just funny. Verse 14. As a door turns upon its hinges, so does the slothful upon his bed. How often do we turn a door on its hinges? How often do we swing doors open and closed? That is the slothful man upon his bed. And looking at it now, right, this one, I remember I saw this video or read this comment, probably both because I hear it kind of often. There's this parent saying, oh, I think it was a meme, might have even been a meme. This parent was like, oh, my kid said it must be so nice to grow up. You can stay in bed all day, eat whatever you want. You don't have to get up. You don't have to go anywhere. Nobody can tell you what to do. And it's just great. And you can sit in bed and do whatever you want all day. And I think to myself, you're just describing depression. And that is low-key what this is, right? Well, let me not say what grown adult, because somebody does it, right? And I don't want to be hurtful. But at the same time, the slothful man turning upon his bed, if it is as frequent as a door turns upon its hinges, not their door, any door. And I'm not saying every time a door, opens or closes, you have to think somebody's laying in their bed right now being lazy, right? But at the same point, it's frequent, is what it's trying to say in this text. And with that, we have to see that staying in your bed and rotting in your bed, I will say, is a sign of depression. Do I think depression is needed to, or therapy is needed to cure depression? By no means. Can I think it can help? For certain. Do I think prayer is a stronger weapon? Definitely. However, our goal as Christians is to not only spread love to our neighbors, but we have to help those who are in need, right? And this could be one of those people. If you know somebody that's going through something, or not even if they're going through something, if they're staying in bed, tossing and turning in their bed all the time, check on that person, right? Even if even if nothing's going on, even if there's no issue, right? The point is you're checking in on them, you're making sure that they're okay. And I think any rational human being, and I will stand on this, any rational human being would appreciate somebody checking in on them once in a while. I'm not saying checking in on them every day, like, are you okay? Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? But every once in a while, and just say, like, hey, I noticed this behavior, you know what I'm saying? If I prayed for you a little bit and I just wanted to see if you were okay. That's it. And that, at least to me, that'll make me feel a whole lot better knowing somebody's thinking about me and sending prayers up for me. Because once again, that's like one of the strongest things you can do. That's really good. That's a really good thing to do. Prayer is our strongest weapon. Let's keep that up. All right, let's keep that up. A slothful man, verse 15, hides his hand in his bosom. It grieves him to bring it again to his mouth. And bosom means chest, usually. We're just going to check another translation. But the point is, it grieves him to bring it to his mouth. The lazy man can't be bothered to lift his hand to his own mouth to feed himself. Such as a man who can't go to work, because, like, if you can't be bothered to feed yourself, that's maybe saying, figuratively, I don't have any money. I can't feed myself. I can't go to, I'm not, all these type of different things. You're not bringing your hand to your mouth. You're not feeding yourself. That could be a whole host of things. Mainly that you're not working, because then you can't afford food. ESV said the sluggard buries his hand in the dish It wears it out to bring it back to his mouth. Also indulgence, right? Burying it too far in the dish, just saying, oh. But the point is lazy. Don't take their food in their hand. Buries their hand in the dish, losing an opportunity after opportunity, right? The food's getting cold. They're losing opportunity. Their hunger is wearing out. You know, maybe they didn't get enough nutrients, but if you didn't know, it's about your body sending signals to your stomach from your mouth to your stomach saying, we should be satiated by now. And it's usually a timed thing. It's about 20 minutes, I believe, when you start eating. And obviously, if you only have like a piece of popcorn, your body's not going to be like, oh, I'm satiated. But should you have, you know, a little bit amount of a food, you know, definitely, maybe, let's say, minimum around 100 calories, something like that. I don't know what you're eating, right? But something of some substance, some weight to it, right? A calorie dense or nutrient dense food that's, you know, got good volume for its amount of calories. Your body may send that signal saying you're satiated. However, realistically, you may have only eaten like 300 calories knowing that you burn 2,000 every day. And then you're not getting enough calories in, and you're going to look emaciated, and you're going to like start functioning on a lower level because you're not getting enough calories in to match your calories out, and that's going to negatively impact your way of living, right? So I actually like that, saying losing opportunity after opportunity, because your energy levels can affect a lot of different things in your life. Also can affect your work, right? You ever showed up to work tired or hungry, and it's just a sad experience for that day or that week or whatever the case is? Verse 16. A sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. So a sluggard thinks he's wiser than 7 men, right? 7 wise counselors, 7 men who can answer senselessly, 7 sensible men who can give a discreet answer. And I think this is good to note when it comes to things like, let me backtrack. It's hard to apply this with reason to something along the lines of whether you're trusting religion, science, or whatever you want to trust in, right? Because people will say, these scientists have X amount of degrees, X amount of thing, blah, 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 who, blah, blah, Nobel Prize. So they know what they're talking about. They know the earth is old. However, God gave them the opportunity to earn those degrees and those awards and stuff like that. And they're using it, being wise in their own conceit, man's own conceit, right? Built on principles of lies. And I saw this one thing. I saw this meme, right? A lot of the stuff I see comes from memes. It's great, right? It said, me, go to college for 4 years, spend another 2 years getting my master's, spend another 4 years getting my doctorate, do countless hours of research in labs and practicals, pass my thesis, defend it, you know, all this type of stuff, do research, test it again, comes out successful, and like my hypothesis is proven after passing a review board and having code studies, and it's using meta-analysis, and then some guy on the internet just types bullcrap, not true. And it's like, while yes, this man has put in not only 10 years of his life getting X degree, countless hours doing X field of research and publishing work and all this stuff, we as Christians have to use our discernment whether we think that these are things of the world that can be fabricated to some extent, or whether these are truthful things, right? When it comes to stuff like weightlifting, those things are tangible, right? When I look at, you know, like a Jeff Nippard video, shout out Jeff Nippard, you know, he brings up studies about weightlifting and the muscle that it builds, right? We can see the muscle that it builds. We can measure the muscle that it builds and have reliable data on how we do that. Because chances are, if you see a jacked dude, it took him time to grow that muscle. Now, if we take 2 people, right? Now, obviously, it's never just 2 people in a study. It's like a wide variety of people. And then you aggregate how much muscle that a certain exercise built. You can see based on 2 giant samples of people, you know, some would have fast twitch muscle fibers, which changes how fast they can build muscle and everything. But you take a random sample of people, so it should be pretty spread out, and you know, in which who builds muscle fast, who builds muscle slow. You have them do 2 exercises on 2 different routines. You'll see at the end of it, these people gained X amount of muscle, these people gained Y amount of muscle. This group did more or gained more muscle with X exercise in X amount of time than these people who did Y exercise in X amount of time, right? The time stays the same, exercise difference, muscle building difference, to say which of these is better for building X muscle and with what form or whatever the case is, right? And that's tangible when we can see that. But when it comes to stuff like dating the earth, nobody was around back then. We don't know how true this stuff is. And I also want to know how they measure half-lives. I don't trust that, John. How do you know this thing decays in 300,000 years? We barely had technology for 300. At least the technology that starts to go with that kind of thing, right? I don't trust that at all. And when it says a lazy man is wiser in his own eyes, I'm not saying, well, I'm definitely lazy when it comes to that, because I talk about like, oh, I want to start learning science so I can understand how to disprove it a little bit better, right? Than seven men who can answer sensibly. Those people could answer that question sensibly, right? And probably even make it make sense potentially. It's very hard to find that, right? I've yet to find a video that dumbs down stuff like that to a major degree. However, this is not getting into that kind of topic. Us as Christians, we have a discernment and we have God. This, I would say, is more like somebody who denies Christ's sacrifice, somebody who believes like a different religion or something like that, right? Because if you're, well, let's stick with Christians. If you're a Christian and you believe something that goes against the gospel, let's say for the sake of this argument, you believe in the prosperity gospel, right? Jesus said we will be persecuted. He said, sell all your items to the dude. You know what I'm saying? It's very clear that we're not supposed to live materialistically, because we're supposed to be helping, give to the sick, give to the poor, give our time and everything. You're not supposed to just be sitting on a mountain of wealth, right? Very, very truly, I say to you, a rich man will go into heaven less than a camel that passed the eye of the needle, right? Something like that. So in what world do you think that God wants us to be all rich and all powerful and all that and healthy as possible and everything, right? We should want to strive for those things, because the more resources you have, the more help you can give, and the healthier you are, the longer you can live to help more people. However, God does not necessarily want that for us. It's pretty clear that, you know, when God wants us, God's going to get us. It's his plan over our plan. Not my will, but your will be done, Father. And a lot of things we do serve our own will, whether we like to admit it or not, right? Pretty much everything we freaking do serves our own will. Actually, I take that back. Everything we do serves our own will. It's just whether our will aligns with God in that moment or not, right? And when you look at it, you can see that most Christians, I would believe, don't believe in the prosperity gospel. So I won't call the people that do lazy people, but you know, it's just like you're considering yourself smarter, saying, I can read this for what it says and see that this is true, than the majority, right? 7, for the context of this, people that can answer sensibly, who say, well, actually, we don't believe in that, right? And it's more people who can answer sensibly than somebody else saying, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, I have a slight problem with this. I go against the grain a lot because I want to be seen as different, whether I like to admit it or not. That's the reason I do some things. And it's very unconscious, because my mind will then say like, well, everybody's going with this, and it makes me seek out the value in something else, because I don't want to just hate on one thing. So I seek out the value, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I like this thing a little bit more. And then it kind of turns into like me versus everybody else. But also, I think that's what it is as Christians, right? We're called to be set apart. But what I'm talking about is more in trivial matters. Like today, I was getting flamed for eating untoasted bagels. Let me know if y'all be eating your bagels untoasted sometimes. It's not every time, right? We didn't have a toaster readily available. And it's like, if a toaster's not readily available and I want a bagel with cream cheese, I'm okay with it untoasted, right? I've worked at Dunkin' Donuts. I've worked at Tim Hortons. I like my bagels how I like my bagel that time. Whatever time it is, you know, I could be in a toasted mood. I could be in an untoasted mood. I could have it toasted with butter. I could have it untoasted with butter. Toasted with cream cheese, untoasted with cream cheese. I don't think I've ever put, you know what? Maybe I have put a bacon, egg, and cheese on an untoasted bagel one time. Cause like that's the difference in softness. It gives it a new texture, you know. And I'm big on texture when it comes to eating, right? We all like foods with a little crunch sometimes, right? You want your fried chicken to be a little bit crunchy, don't you? Sometimes you want the butter to be seeped in. You want that when you biting into that butter bagel. Sometimes you don't. I don't all the time. Depends on what I want. Same thing with sandwiches, right? You can put any type of sandwich on toasted bread or untoasted bread, right? Turkey sandwiches, not turkey. What's it called? Club sandwiches. Most time they're, to me, when they're served like finger food on that thing, they're served on soft bread. But if you go to a restaurant, they may be untoasted bread, right? It depends on who's making the food and what the restaurant's vision is, whatever. You know, grilled cheese, it's always toasted. PB&J, I'd say almost always untoasted. And that's just what it is, right? That's just the base sandwich, right? You can have it on toasted bread if that's your preference. But why are we hating on people for that? That's crazy. Let me rock. We got wildly off topic. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.